It's a new year, a new season of Clash of the Pencils, a new game. Who will win? The truth will soon be known on the Clash of the Pencils live stream.
Turn on the stream tonight. Short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. Story Central Time. Breaking down the plot. Characters that fought. Twist that hit the spot. It's all you live tonight. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Dollars from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the door right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear.
Welcome to the Clash of the Pencils live stream, the only full contact creative writing esports league in the history of every single word I just said. My name is Tom Sherman, joined as always by Greg the Reader Peterson. We are here to analyze the plot, character, and setting of the top short stories of the day. So every day, authors from across the internet submit a handwritten one-page story based off of a prompt that we reveal at the end of the live stream. Then the public at large votes for their favorite story. We go through the top three and then reveal the winner at the end of each show. So what does it take to get to the finals? Here are the keys to victory. There are three elements that triangulate to create the story, and that is the characters, the setting, and the plot. The closer an author can strike to the center of each of those elements, or the wider they can create the triangle. I forget which way we're doing it these days, but doesn't matter. That's the thing. You got to get those elements, and that makes your story engaging, visceral, and exciting. So bearing that in mind, Greg, what is today's prompt, and what do the authors need to focus on when dealing with it?
All right, so today's prompt, we're going to a portal in the forest. A group of friends stumble on a glowing tree deep in the forest. When they touch it, they are transported to a magical land where animals can speak, but an evil force threatens their new world. They must find a legendary artifact to save it.
How? All right, so a lot going on there. Where, if you were an author today, where would you focus your attention and energy in that, radar chart of doom?
The radar chart of doom. I think the plot is already kind of pre-baked here. We've got some sort of portal transformation. We've already got two different settings. Those are already kind of baked in. What really needs to happen here is character development. Character. That's going to be, I think, the distinguishing feature that's going to elevate the winner of today's story.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on all of the characters that come up in our stories today. And the best way to do that is to just get it started. So without further ado, here is our first story of the day.
We found magical wonderland. James, Tony, and Michael discover a lonely, drooping tree in the distance. Tony whispers, not wanting any creatures to overhear. How can that tree be so sad when everything else here is bursting with joy? Even the animals are celebrating. James and Michael exchange thoughtful glances. Maybe a fire hurt it, James murmurs. And now it's feeling down, Michael adds quietly. Then let's investigate, Tony declares, skipping toward the tree until he's just a tiny dot in the distance. Michael sighs. He hates chasing after Tony's endless adventures. Well, guess we're going, James shrugs, starting to walk. Michael, left with no choice, follows along. Suddenly, a demon appears as they approach what looks like the sun. The sun transforms into a blood moon, its horrible laughter echoing off the tree. They can't get any closer without risking serious harm. This demon must be why the tree's so gloomy, Michael realizes. But Tony, fearless as ever, crouches forward, despite his ringing ears, focusing only on his determination to help. When Tony reaches the tree's roots, the ground shakes and reveals a secret passage. The demon creates hallucinations, and Tony follows what he thinks is the true path, but it's actually a trap. He vanishes into thin air, as if teleported away. "Michael, we have to save Tony!" James shouts. Filled with determination, they sprint to the tree and dive into the passage. They find a glowing relic and grab it together. The world swirls away, and suddenly they're back in their everyday world. Tony's there, safe and sound. "You won't believe what happened," he exclaims. "That demon was about to eat the earth, but when you returned with the relic, it disappeared." They share a giant group hug, relieved their world is inside the newly found magic wonderland.
All right, so here we have a trio of friends, James, Michael, and Tony, finding a sad tree. And as a trio of friends normally does when finding a sad tree, you have to figure out why it's sad and then fix it. So, they, although it seems like it's kind of begrudging, as one of the friends, Tony, really wants to do it, and everyone kind of sighs and follows along. Turns out there was a demon inhabiting the tree and basically kidnaps Tony. And then the other two boys find a relic in the tree maze labyrinth and reverse the everything goes back to
It's all good. They
it's
save
all
the
fine.
day.
And everything's fine. And everything's fine.
Whoosh.
I don't know if I ever figured out why the tree was sad though. It seems like that was an
Right. It might have had this demon parasite, you know, like
right.
a lichen, a demon lichen that was just stripping its ability to do photosynthesis. I was very interested, you were onto it, about like Michael being kind of the moral compass for this crew. First of all, we get introduced to him. He's whispering because he doesn't want any of the other creatures to overhear. Like if he says, "Oh, that tree's sad," like the other trees are going to laugh at him. So he's a very, very sensitive character. Deep, deep empathetic investment in our wildlife. So we hear that, and then he has this exclamation point. "Then let's investigate," Tony declares, skipping toward the tree until he's just a tiny dot in the distance. So not only is he very empathetic and soft, he takes action. And when he sees something, he intervenes. So he seems like the hero here who impulsively just rushes forward. He's also the demon must be why the tree's so gloomy. That's Michael, not Tony. Michael seems to be more of the analyst, the one who's putting all the pieces together, doing some kind of cause effect logic, exerting a little Bayesian probability into the mix, trying to make sure that Tony doesn't just fearlessly rush into the unknown, which he does. Spoiler alert. And then
can't stop Tony. Yeah,
can't stop Tony because like his heart's there. He's just going into this portal. He's filled with determination. Just keeps coming up again and again for his like character word. It's almost like an epithet. And then he gets teleported away, and then I feel like this author they had a great sort of character development, great first part of figuring out the problem, but then I think we ran out of page, Tom. Doesn't it feel like the ending was a little compressed?
Yep.
It was like, all right, the demon, it was going to eat the earth, but it's all back together. I do love the last line, though. They shared a giant group hug. It was sweet.
Right, that's a sweet. Yeah, it was a good ending. It's definitely they had the that's the classic trap of the one-page story, right? Is you've got a great story built up in your mind. You spend a lot of time on that intro and middle, and then all of a sudden you got to wrap it up because for your limited physical space. So yeah, we see that a lot, and I do believe that happened to this one as well. You know, here's something I thought was interesting was just the ability of perception of Michael. Like this is almost a superpower of being able to speak to trees and plants, and you know, because like if we're thinking about the physics of the situation, the three friends find a sad tree, right? And then Tony decides to fix it and skips towards it until he's a dot in the distance, which means that that tree is easily a mile away. You know what I mean? Like It's so how did they know that that tree was so sad, and how did they even see that tree a mile away? It's an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
yeah,
He
I would
definitely
really
could.
pinch and zoom.
He'd really pitch and zoom on tree emotions
Yeah,
way out on the
on
horizon. And
how
there's
did
like,
that happen? Yeah.
we have to act now, guys. That tree is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that yeah, that setup was really just very captivating. It's like, wow, that's you know what I mean? Have I ever been walking along and been like, look 3 miles away, that tree is in trouble. We gotta go right now. It's just never I don't know. I would love for it to happen. So
Yeah. Tree empathy. All right.
all right. So I guess we'll go on to the next one, right? That's what
How
do
it
we got? What
is.
do we
That's
got
how
for
it
our
is. We
next
got to
one?
keep the show
Just
rolling.
gotta keep it moving, folks.
This
Today
is
was an
nothing.
extremely strange day because something happened in the forest. My friends Maddie, Jason, Aiden, and I decided to go exploring because the weather was nice. We were supposedly looking for cool rocks or interesting leaves for our collections. I was wearing my comfortable sneakers just in case we needed to run fast, which was a smart decision. First, we walked for a long time and saw many trees. Some trees had moss on them. Moss is a plant that grows in damp areas. Then,
All right,
suddenly,
Britain.
we saw a glowing
have
tree. It was not just glowing a little, it was glowing extremely bright. It was blue and green, like those lights you see at birthday parties. I told everyone, we should be careful because this is definitely unusual. Jason said, maybe it's magic. We all agreed, even though magic isn't scientifically proven. Next, we touched the tree simultaneously because Maddie said it was the safest investigation method. Then, suddenly, instantly, we were somewhere else. The air was sparkly and the grass was so green it looked like someone painted it with a highlighter. Then an animal talked to us. It was a rabbit. The rabbit said, "Hello, travelers, we need your help. An evil wizard is trying to make everything gray and boring." I felt nervous, but also excited because helping is essential. That's what Miss Carter says. The rabbit told us we had to find the legendary crystal of light to save the land. So we went to find the cave, and Aiden said we should make a plan because plans are essential for success. We found the cave, which was dark and cold. Jason was a little scared. He says he wasn't, but I know he was. Finally, we saw the crystal. It was the most beautiful thing ever, like a giant diamond. We grabbed it carefully so it wouldn't break. Then we were back in the forest. Just like that. My heart was beating so fast because I couldn't believe what happened. We decided it was our secret mission, and we probably shouldn't tell any adults about it because they might not believe us.
The narrator is skeptical that they were actually there to look for cool rocks or interesting leaves, and wore running sneakers just in case, because you know what? You only have to outrun the slowest person. That's the key when you're exploring with friends. So, what do? We go through the trees. They find a glowing tree and they decide it might be magic. Something's going on, even though the science doesn't really back it up. So they decide to, as one would with something strange in the forest, all touch it at the same time. Then they get teleported to a iridescent world where a talking rabbit says there's an evil wizard trying to make this crazy world a lot worse. So what do they need to do? Find the legendary crystal of light, which they do, and save the day, teleport home, and they're back in the forest.
Yeah, wow. This, for such an adventure, they had bubble wrapped themselves every which way. So much caution throughout, so much rational analysis. I just commend that careful precision of their planning and executing their plan. But like you said, all you have to do is outrun one person.
That's it. That's the best part. That's
We get the comfortable sneakers just in case, because like if you're being chased by, some evil bad guy or demon, uncomfortable sneakers is clearly top of mind for me. Like that, it's 2024. What are we doing here? If we're not escaping in comfort, you're not escaping much.
if you're trying to run in flip-flops, you're not escaping. Yeah, it's
Probably not escaping. Although the stakes here, we've got a rabbit who comes in and reports. There is an evil wizard trying to make everything gray and boring. Yes, this is a tragedy, but Tom, contrast this to the demon who was eating the world in the previous story. Are the stakes higher here or there? I ask you that.
That's fair enough.
Shadow.
They're probably a lot lower here. I mean, if I was a traveler, I'm not sure, versus in the last story where my friend gets kidnapped, probably going to have to go help him. Otherwise, you explain it to his mom. That turns into a whole thing. The news gets involved. You know what I mean? But like, yeah. So that's high stakes for sure. This is a bit
I
lower.
This is low, but still, they decided it was their secret mission, and they probably shouldn't
Why
tell
not?
any adults because they might not believe us. I was very, very interesting in how the narrator and their voice was always trying to kind of prove scientifically that this was happening, or it was always making references to it. I was very caught by that. Then suddenly, I mean, instantly, like it's always requalifying with the language to try to use whatever they're learning in school as precisely as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The my favorite line here was maybe it's magic, and we all agreed, even though magic isn't scientifically proven. And so it's like this is some sort of conspiracy in which they've found some sort of magical region, but they can't tell. They already know they can't tell the adults. They've already internalized the bureaucratic, rational, and
Right.
scrutiny that this would bring up.
Right. Right.
So, in
Yeah.
terms
It's
of character, plot, and setting, I think this has some really interesting character development. The plot was a little bit more spread out between the beginning, middle, and end. It did give us the end with the legendary crystal of light and the
mhm.
abundance of caution they used to pick it very carefully because they didn't want to break it. And they did save the day, so I think it was a little bit more balanced in terms of plot. The setting was also solid. What'd you think?
It was good. I too, I really enjoyed this sort of, um, like cold rational like caution that pervades the story, and yet somehow they always decide to kick it up. It's like, oh, this might be a magic tree even though magic isn't proven. So instead of deciding, maybe let's just turn around and walk home, you know what I mean? It's like, let's all touch it at the same time, like it's like that's probably the least one of the least safe options, because you can't outrun. Like, what if that freezes everybody? Then you can't outrun everybody. You got to send in the person in flip flops to touch the tree first and see what happens. That's so it was this beautiful sort of dance between like trying to create a rational logic to an irrational story. And yeah, I also sort of like the part where it's like we can't tell any adults because they're not going to believe us. Like this is a pure this is a pure adventure. You know what I mean? Like this is self-contained in our friends, between our four friends. Can't go any further.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's look at the third one.
let's do it.
Anyway, we were walking and bam, we saw this glowing tree. Like it was glowing blue and green and looked like something out of
This one is the
Minecraft.
same. This one
You
is
know
the
when you
same
find a nether
story.
portal?
The
It
third
was like
one's the
that,
third.
but cooler. And then Mia was like, I dare you to touch it. And I was like, no, you touch it. And Jackson said, I'll do it. But then he totally chickened out. So I said, fine, I'm brave. I'll do it. And when I touched it, it was like, whoosh! The tree sucked us in, like a giant vacuum cleaner, but with sparkles. And Jackson was screaming, we're gonna die. I was like, nah, this is awesome. And then we landed in this crazy place with pink grass and yellow trees. And oh my gosh, there was a talking fox. He was like, yo, what's up? You gotta save us. And I was like, save you from what? Then a giant shadow monster popped out, and it was all raw. It had 10,000 teeth and smelled like a trash can full of old bananas. Oh yeah, you know what it reminded me of? That time I ate too many jelly beans and puked all over my dad's shoes. Gross.
Walking in the forest looking for frogs because there was one the size of a football last time Jackson was in the forest, but he's also a bit of a liar. So, anyways, they come across a glowing tree, and it looks like a portal. They dare each other, double dog dare each other. Jackson says, look, I've seen a frog the size of a football. I'm not scared. I'll do it. But then he chickens out. The narrator touches it, and boom, everybody gets sucked into the tree like a vacuum cleaner. Narrator has a lot of fun. Jackson, not so much. They run into a talking fox. Who's like, you need to save us from a giant shadow monster, and he smells bad. So that's about it. It's kind of like that time they ate too many jelly beans and puked on their dad's shoes.
Yeah, we all been there.
I mean,
This was amazing narrative voice. I think the character development is all through this first person narration. I was getting shades of I don't know, this might be too high praise, but some Huck Finn. It's like a 2024 Huck Finn referencing Minecraft. Very freewheeling and dynamic, the energy of this. It's very stream of conscious. It's not too formal. I was like, he was like, and then we get the dialogue. The characterization between the kids and being too chicken to go and actually touch the portal felt very true. Um, I really liked though just the dialogue and diction. It felt like it created a world that was both believable and fantastic at the same time. It had that kid social dynamics. At the same time, it has this imaginative storytelling. So overlaying those two things was pretty advanced. The other thing that I saw here were some great similes, like a giant vacuum cleaner, but with sparkles when the tree sucked you in, or when the shadow monster says "roar," he smelled like a trash can full of old bananas. Speaking of trash cans that smell like old bananas, what? Whoa! What's up, Lid the Kid? What do we think, Tom?
um, are you saying I smell like a trash can full of bananas? Or what are we talking about here?
I was thinking Lid might.
The let's see. I liked it. I think you're exactly right. Where the narrator and the way that they tell the story through their own personal point of view, internal voice is very authentic, and it makes you feel like it feels like I'm listening to a kid tell me a story, and it feels like I can place the excited person relaying this to me. And so it just gave that layer of authenticity to it, where that was sort of lacking in a bit in the previous one, where I don't really think that I've met a few kids that are cold, rational, scientific logic, but I've met a lot more that are gonna say, "Oh, there was a giant shadow monster, and it was all raw, and it smelled like a trash can full of bananas." So I thought that was a great sort of way to, tell the story and really give some character depth without, without overthinking it, kind of.
Yeah, so shout out to this author, Bailiff 10. Bailiff 10, strong stuff.
All right, let's get it going. Top five sentences of the day, brought to you by Tony Stallone's Bologna Coloni. Yeah, found at every major retailer that sells smoked meats. All right, top five. Okay, so me and Mia and Jackson were in the woods, right? And we were just walking around looking for frogs because Jackson said he saw a frog the size of a football last time. But I think he's lying because he also said he saw Bigfoot once. And come on, Bigfoot's not real. Or is he? Sentence number four. How can that tree be so sad when everything else here is bursting with joy? Even the animals are celebrating. Sentence number three. We were supposedly looking for cool rocks or interesting leaves for our collections. I was wearing my comfortable sneakers just in case we needed to run fast, which was a smart decision. Number two, the air was sparkly. The grass was so green, it looked like someone painted it with a highlighter. Then an animal talked to us. It was a rabbit. And the top sentence of the night. Oh, yeah, you know what it reminded me of? That time I ate too many jelly beans and puked all over my dad's shoes. Gross.
Gross
So those are the
indeed.
top five sentences brought to you by Tony Stallone's Bologna Coloni, which Makes sense that the top sentence would be jelly beans and puke after.
Turn on the street tonight, short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The story central time. Breaking down the plot, characters are fun. Twist and hit the spot. It's all you live tonight. Are you ready for some stories in a live stream glory? It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Dollars from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories in a live stream glory? It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Breaking down the plot.